Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl. It's been a little bit, it's a brand new year, but we're back here on the channel. If you've missed it, we dropped our top 10 films of 2024 video the other day. We both had a lot of fun making that video, so definitely go give that a look. But we're back to awards, predictions, reactions, because today the Bafta long list are out, and we're just going to give our general thoughts here. We're not going to go into full Bafta predictions, but really just saying the updates with the race because, like I said, it's a brand new year and seeing what films got in or what films maybe missed out.
All right, let's start at the top of these long lists. We are on Best Film. So right now we've got oh my God. Are you seeing what I'm seeing, Dylan?
Oh my gosh, The Apprentice is here. The international support, Sebastian Stan, here you come.
Kneecap is here too. So, okay, let's just clock this. What's missing from the expected 10? I mean, we have Wicked here, which some people thought could do worse here.
Nickel Boys and Sing Sing.
A real pain. And All We Imagine Is Light not being here is pretty bad for it. Fig, done. If Blitz had any chance, it's done. This is a really neat top 10. Kneecap being in Best Film makes me think maybe that could end up in the international lineup for the Oscars. The Apprentice being here, to me, says that there's going to be enough support for that to get into the acting categories.
And I mean, if it has enough support here with Bafta, I know this is just a long list, but assuming it gets into more long lists, we could see at the Oscars, not just Stan, not just Strong, but maybe it finds its way to original screenplay, to that open fifth slot that we've always been talking about.
Or maybe it takes in a makeup nomination there as well. This is really bad for Nickel Boys. This is really bad for Sing Sing. Really bad for A Real Pain. A Real Pain is the one that I'm like, that's suffering because of this.
Yeah, we've seen from the Golden Globes that at least international skewing people don't seem most receptive to Sing Sing. So I guess if a film was going to miss here, especially if we're getting both Kneecap and The Apprentice into this 10, that's the one that makes the most sense to miss for me. But yeah, A Real Pain I think is the biggest struggler here, just because that's a film that seems like the Bafta branch would seem like it's up their alley. And then Nickel Boys is one where, like, I get the miss. I personally would have expected to be in the 10, but I'm not like shocked that it's not here.
But this just goes to the point we've been saying all year long, which is The Apprentice is going to connect far better with international voters than it will with Americans, which is something that people have criticized us for saying in the past. But I think stand by it.
Stand by it. I see what you did there.
All right. Outstanding British film.
Oh yeah, Back to Black. What a picture.
We're not going to get anything from this list. There's 15 nominees here. It's not telling us anything.
The fun thing here, at least, is this category seems to like be the spread the wealth category, at least in recent years, where they're not going for the film that they want to see in the best film category. They're going with something a little bit different. Like we saw the difference between Zone of Interest last year and Poor Things, and then this year, I mean, Conclave's here, Kneecap's here as well. So like I could see a world where Kneecap wins this and Conclave could maybe take the top prize.
Interesting thing here, though. People have been saying that The Substance would do really well at Bafta because it's a British film, but it's not in the Outstanding British Film lineup. Whether The Substance does well or not, they're not considering it to be British. So it's not like there's going to be bias because of that.
Well, that will move us over to Outstanding Debut by a British writer, director, and producer. And again, there's a lot of things here. There's not much Oscar overlap, but just seeing some nice things pop up. Monkey Man, fun. Dev Patel, get your flowers.
I'm happy to see Grand Theft Hamlet here. Otherwise, Santosh, I mean, that's actually an interesting thing to note. Santosh is here. This is Britain's submission to the Oscars. So that means that the film that Britain submitted to the Oscars International Feature is not even being considered one of the 15 best British films of the year. And the next category is film not in the English language. Let's see, what are we missing here?
I don't see Grandma Dies. I don't see Dahomey here. I don't see Vermiglio here. So those are three top 7, top 8 type contenders that aren't in this long list.
Grandma doesn't matter to me because that was never going to be a BAFTA movie. If that gets an Oscar nomination, it gets in off of word of mouth. Vermiglio and Dahomey and Universal Language were all films that really would have benefited from a BAFTA mention because they are all much more artsy, much more highbrow films, especially Universal Language because that doesn't have any mentions in international feature anywhere else except for the National Board of Review. Last year, The Teacher's Lounge, which got a nomination in the end, the only mention that it had before nominations was from the BAFTA shortlist and from NBR. And so at this point, it hurts Dahomey, Vermilio, and Universal Language not to be here, I would say.
And I guess the films that really benefit from being here is a Kneecap continuing to show up across the board here at the BAFTAs. Flow made it in, even though there's not another language in it. And then Throw the Needle, I mean, that's when I expected to show up. But the fact that it still made it in shows that this film may end up just being in. It's not going to be the surprise miss.
You know what's a really interesting miss here? Santosh. The British submission to the Oscars is not here. That's the film that they're championing.
I guess to move us over to another very similar category, Best Documentary, and at least the first one that jumps out to me is No Dahomey again.
Yeah, Dahomey getting screwed again. I mean, Sugarcane is also not here. No Porcelain War, no Union, but we do have Will and Harper. We're missing Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat.
That's a big miss. That's one that people were expecting to get in everywhere.
There's quite a lot of Oscar shortlist documentaries that aren't here.
Yeah, there's only 6 of the 15 Oscar shortlisted films that made it to this long list here. It said BB Files, Black Box Diaries, Daughters, No Other Land, Ibelin, and Will and Harper.
What does this mean for Will and Harper, I wonder? I keep saying if Will and Harper gets the nomination, it wins. I feel like out of this lineup, Will and Harper has to get the nomination.
It's looking good for Will and Harper, and obviously the documentary branch does what they want in this category every year. You can get every precursor or most of the precursors and still miss. Like you said, it's looking good. It's getting in places where we weren't really expecting it to.
The next category here is animated film. The top 5 is here, but I mean, Moana 2 is also here. That Christmas is also here. Despicable Me 4 makes its first appearance really anywhere.
I mean, BAFTA wants to be cool. BAFTA's done Despicable Me films in the past. Go ahead and put that in. Snub something. Let's make this race interesting. But yeah, the top 5's here. That's going to continue being our 5 everywhere.
Interesting that they didn't do any other unique or artsy films like Chicken for Linda or Look Back or Mars Express. I could have seen BAFTA do one of those in a long list, but they're not here. Maybe they do something lame and go with Moana 2. But I don't believe that.
Well, that will shoot us over to director, where we start off with our jury categories. I believe this is the first one that we're doing.
I'm not sure that the juries exist anymore, but I do know that they have a mandated rule here, which is that there will be 5 men and 5 women in this lineup.
And I feel like that is very much reflected in our long list here, because we don't have many women directors in contention. So, I mean, obviously Corley Fargad gets in here for The Substance, and then Kyle Kapadia for All We Imagine Is Light. And then it seems like it's kind of like a drop-off in terms of the big top contenders for any reason you really want to be here. But I mean, throw back to a long, long ago prediction that was on this channel. La Chimera shows up for Best Director just a year late.
One thing I will take note of is I had previously said that I thought Dune was going to be weaker than Wicked at the BAFTA, and that John M. Chu would make it over Denis Villeneuve. But here, Denis Villeneuve is, so you get your prize, because I know you've been rooting for Denis all year long.
I know, I'm happy to see him in here. And then, I mean, the other 4, I would say the expected 4 men to make it into the short list of Audiard, Berger, Corbet, and Sean Baker. I hope that they don't just strictly do 5 men in the category. There's some more split as we go further. But, I mean, this is, I think, a tight race between 7-8 people here of the 10.
Worth noting, though, Mohamed Rasulov, who people thought if there was a chance that he could get into director, he would show up at the BAFTA. Not here. Also worth noting, Ramel Ross, not here. So Nickel Boy's taking a big hit. But I think Dune is the easiest one to let go of when I'm thinking of putting together a lineup for this award.
And that will move us over now to Best Original Screenplay, where just looking at this list right now, the first thing that pops out to me is The Apprentice popping up here, and no September 5.
September 5, it's becoming increasingly clear to me that the early love that that's got, the Golden Globes love that that's got, is because it's a film about journalism. It's a movie that's going to speak to journalists and people who work in broadcast. That's not going to be the case when it gets to these industry awards. So September 5, I feel like at this point is just dropping fast, and it's dropping hard. The Apprentice being here is interesting, as well as Heretic, Kneecap, and of course A Real Pain finally shows up. Also interesting, no hard truths.
Yeah, no hard truths here, but I do see what most people are considering the top 3, the top 4 in original screenplay being Anora, Brutalist, A Real Pain, and The Substance. So assuming those carry over here to BAFTA, that means we have a 5th slot. Are they going with Challengers, which this is the first thing I've seen for Challengers so far? The Apprentice, which made the film shortlist, or All We Imagine Is Light, that is in director but did not make its way to the picture long list. Or maybe even Kneecap surprises.
Kneecap could do it. I've been predicting Hard Truths for a screenplay nomination at the Oscars, and the difficult thing here is that in the past, Mike Leigh has gotten screenplay nominations at the Oscars while missing the BAFTA. For example, that happened with Another Year. In 2010, got an original screenplay nomination but missed the BAFTA nomination. I don't know if I can predict Hard Truths, though, without even making a BAFTA long list, even though I know that the Oscars like Mike Leigh far more than the BAFTAs do.
And that's been my whole thing with Hard Truths this year is obviously, as you said, the Oscars have a track record of supporting him, but at least this season, the only people who seem to really care about that film are the regional critics. And all of these guilds and all of these televised shows aren't really giving it much of anything. Maybe it's just one nomination for Marianne Jean-Baptiste, but they're ignoring it in film, they're ignoring it in screenplay. It's just one that seems like it's going to be that film that we have every year that shows so much strength with the critic support, but when we get to the stuff, it just blanks across the board like it did at the Globes.
I will probably keep predicting Marianne Jean-Baptiste, even if she misses here. But with screenplay, I can't rationally expect it to get a nomination there, but I will be pleasantly surprised if it does.
And that will shoot us over now to adapted screenplay, where at least looking here, I don't see any major misses because Nicole Boyce and Sing Sing, despite missing picture and despite missing director, are here in the adapted lineup. We have Wicked, Amelia Perez, Dune, Conclave, A Complete Unknown even. I guess the only major one to me that I would expect is Nosferatu, maybe for a long list.
Room Next Door.
Oh,
not here.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
How that film has fallen.
Yeah, that has dropped a long way. This doesn't really change anything for me except showing that The Room Next Door truly is deader than dead.
I'll hold my L for Room Next Door. Figured, Sony, they know what they're doing with campaigning, and I guess they just chose not to campaign anything because they're not even doing the Outrun this year. They have no real films that they're really pushing for awards.
That's a major drop-off from winning the Golden Lion to not even making the BAFTA screenplay. I wonder if Tilda Swinton will make it.
Well, let's dive into that right now. Best Leading Actress. And I mean, I see Amy Adams. I see Erivo. Marianne Jean-Baptiste. What? The girl from Back to Black is here.
Yeah, Marissa
Oh
Abella.
my gosh. Tangent. Back to Black is like in the 3 worst films I saw last year of like 130.
Marianne Jean-Baptiste is here, but you know who's not here? Angelina Jolie.
Oh, you're right.
Angelina
No
Jolie, not here. I've been flirting with the idea of dropping Angelina Jolie after I watched Maria. I've been procrastinating on watching that movie for months because in Canada it's not on Netflix, so it was a little bit hard to track down. I think Angelina Jolie does like a good acting role where it's just like every scene is just so much acting. She has 1 or 2 scenes that blew me away, but the whole time I was just feeling like this is a role that feels more like a Golden Globe nomination than an Oscar nomination. And also the cinematography, the costume design didn't capture me the way that I expected them to from the trailers. I could see Maria getting fully blanked.
I am right there with you. I think it is either 2 ways. It gets 3 or it gets 0. I don't think it's just Jolie or just cinematography. I think they would work in tandem, showing that there is support across, or everyone feels the same way that we do, that movie's kind of mid overall and all the aspects of it aren't as good as we were expecting coming in, where maybe the film's not bad, but we leave very disappointed.
I don't know if I agree that it's 3 or nothing, because I could see a world where it gets the Critics' Choice package of just costumes and Angelina Jolie, but at this point I'm leaning towards it getting just blanked altogether.
And I guess looking at some of the other nominees here, Saoirse Ronan makes it in for The Outrun, so she has life. She's not blanked across the board. At least the BAFTA seems to be liking The Outrun, so who maybe knows? Just talked about Sony Picture Classics not doing anything. Outrun's showing up where it kind of needs to here. I don't know if that's just a BAFTA thing. Maybe it goes on for SAG.
It's so totally just a BAFTA thing. It's Saoirse Ronan. She's a BAFTA darling. You know who's not here? Fernanda Torres. They really could have gone out for Fernanda Torres, but instead they decided to go with the British films with Lee. To me, though, this isn't shaking too much of what I'd expected. It's just going to flip around a little bit. Like, I think I have to leave Angelina Jolie out after this. But thank God Marianne Jean-Baptiste is here after The screenplay missed. That's a good sign.
I saw Baby Girl the other day, and I feel like Nicole Kidman's doing so much there. So I hope that she shows up here. I hope she continues to show up for actual nominations. I feel like this is like the most committed performance of this category this year, of someone really putting themselves out there. And I'm just happy to see her actually show up after missing out at CCA.
See, I love Nicole Kidman's work in Baby Girl. I don't know if I would say the most committed in a category that also has Mikey Madison, also has Demi Moore. Nicole Kidman, though, I think she's fantastic in Baby Girl. In fact, I would say on a personal level, I think it's her best work. I just need to see her get SAG. I would need to see her get Bafta in order to put her in for the Oscar.
And speaking about putting people in for the Oscar, that's move us to lead actor, where collectively most people out there agree there's a top 4, but what's 5? And that 5 kind of comes down to who shows up here at the BAFTA. So let's take a look of who made this long list here.
Sebastian motherfucking Stan for The Apprentice, dude.
I'm happy too, because he's great in both A Different Man and The Apprentice. But like A Different Man, you watch that movie and he's just not really what you think about. You think about the makeup, you think about Adam Pearson, but with The Apprentice, he is the show. So I'm glad that's the one that is starting to pick up traction. But I mean, look at some other people here. Hugh Grant continues to make everything in terms of at least the long list, and who knows, maybe a nomination.
Dude, he
Daniel
could
Craig
get the
does make it here for Queer. He totally could. And then another person just to give a shout out to, Kingsley Benadir is here for Bob Marley One Love. Missed the Globe, but hey, the rumblings of the potential SAG upset, I guess, are still alive with him making the long list.
Yeah, I so doubt that, but it just proves that it's not just PR from the studio. Okay, some people that missed, though. Jesse Eisenberg, Real Pain. Paul Mescal could have made it for Gladiator 2. Interesting that they put in Dev Patel, Jude Law, Kingsley Benadir over those guys. I don't think they're in the running for a nomination here, but everyone else is. Now, I think there's that locked top 4, right? We know Brody, Chalamet, Fiennes, Domingo. Although Domingo could be shaky because it's BAFTA and Sing Sing's been performing terribly.
That's my feeling as well, is if we have something surprising, if we want to find a way to have both Grant and Craig and Stan where you get 2 of the 3, Domingo would be the one to drop off, and it's just which 2 do you bring in? I know you and I are both on the Sebastian Stan train, but I mean, Hugh Grant is storming along and he's got everything so far. So, and he is homegrown talent, so like he has an angle to get in here. I'm a little concerned for Domingo because I think he's like fantastic in Sing Sing, but the trajectory of that film, at least with international, it's like the reverse of The Apprentice. The Apprentice shows up with these international voting bodies. Sing Sing kind of goes away.
I'm really curious what SAG is going to do for that final 5th slot, because I feel confident they're going to do Sing Sing. Between Craig, Stan, and Grant, who are they going to go with?
I'm currently just riding with Stan for everywhere I can, but I mean, I think Hugh Grant has a great case for SAG. I think Craig would be the 3rd option at SAG. I just don't think Queer is the type of movie that SAG really responds to very well. So I would say it's between Stan and between Hugh Grant.
So let's move to the next category, Supporting Actress. And looking at this list,
look who's here.
Adriana Paz. They have 3.
All 3 of them. I didn't think they would get 3. I thought Paz would get in over Gomez, but they got all 3 of them.
Wow. Okay, that to me just shows that there's a lot of support for Amelia Perez, which we're going to see reflected when we get to those below-the-line categories.
There's some wild people here.
Wow. Michelle Austin for Hard Truths shows that there is support for Hard Truths at BAFTA, just not in Screenplay.
Jamie Lee Curtis, but they don't put in Pamela Anderson.
Some people that missed here. Danielle
Nicole
Deadwyler.
Boyce, Ingenue Ellis Taylor. It's the 2 Globe snubs. They're back again with BAFTA long list snubs.
And guess fucking what? Saoirse Ronan, Blitz, not here.
No one cares about Blitz. I say that and watch Blitz get into some more categories, but
this is the thing, is that, you know, this is showing that my hypothesis of maybe Blitz could be a BAFTA bubble, that's not happening. Even if Blitz gets a bunch of tech love, that says nothing to me because it's missing in all of the above the line categories.
And since our last predictions video, I called Blitz the equivalent to Empire of Light, and now I have it even worse than that because I don't even have Blitz in at the Oscars anywhere currently. So maybe when we get to the text, it does show some life, but currently it's blanked everywhere. But look at the rest of the supporting actress race. I guess all the top contenders are here. You have both Amelia girls, you have Quali, you have Rossellini, you even have Felicity Jones and Grande. So like you have the strength there. But I mean, like BAFTA shows in these supporting categories, they don't mind going a little crazy. And that's why when I rewatched Amelia Perez over the holidays and I messaged to Matt, I was like, I can see a world where Paz shocks here at BAFTA. She has a not a huge role, but she has an impactful enough role, especially in the last act. And I feel like if there's a lot of love for that movie and the mixed reactions to Gomez that seems to be increasing the further we go into the season, Paz could shock. And I don't know if she'll go all the way to the Oscar, but I could see her at least getting the BAFTA.
This is not an Oscar thing. It's just more of a BAFTA thing. Small things like these stars Cillian Murphy, and he missed the leading actor shortlist while Emily Watson made supporting actress. Cillian Murphy missing is a little crazy.
It is a little crazy, and I hope the craziness does not stop as we get to supporting actor.
Okay, before we look at it, what do we think? Clarence Macklin in or out?
Domingo got in, so I think he's in.
Let's look. Clarence Macklin, top of the list. He's there. Who
Denzel,
else?
he's here.
Yep.
He's at least on the long list.
Denzel has never gotten a BAFTA nomination in his entire career. Could it be for Gladiator 2? That would be such a shitty role to get your first BAFTA nomination for.
I get the sentiment, but I feel like you just take what you can get at this time. The fact that he didn't get in for Tragedy Macbeth, which is so BAFTA core, it doesn't make sense. They have some vindictive against Denzel Washington. I'm sure you can point to numerous things. Maybe he's criticized in the past and they're holding that against him for his entire career, but like, give the man something.
Yuri Borisov makes it in here as well as Mark Edelstein. That's great. We got Jeremy Strong.
Tucci.
Yeah, Tucci is here. That's really the first mention we've seen of Tucci anywhere. Again, just showing strength for Conclave. This looks exactly like my top 10 for supporting actor, except Harris Dickinson is there.
But I mean, he makes sense. BAFTAs have given him long lists here in the past few years for some of his work.
It makes sense for him to be here. It was just not one that I was like expecting. It's a mini surprise, but everything else makes total sense. This is probably the most sane list that we've seen so far.
I know that you would very much not like to see this, but I wonder if we will get a hard shift with Edelstein over Borisov, the fact that they're both here, or will they both live, or will neither of them get in by canceling out?
I would say it's both, or it's just Borisov. I don't think there's a world where it's just Edelstein. We've seen enough through awards season at this point that people do prefer Yuri Borisov, and the movie's strong enough that one of them's getting in. It's got to be Yuri Borisov. I would be so shocked if they went with Mark Edelstein at this point in the season. And even if they were to, it wouldn't change anything for me.
Well, that will shoot us over to Best Casting, which is one of the few small precursors we'll have for that new award that's coming to the Oscars next year. We did a whole deep dive about this last year where there's not much overlap in terms of like what SAG does, but it's a fun thing to look at. And looking at the things here, again, BAFTA, I don't know what you saw in Back to Black. Get that out of here. The rest of the stuff here means it makes sense. There's no Sing Sing.
That's not overly shocking because we've seen in the past what BAFTA likes is they like movies that cast kids. They love biopics who are casting for real people. So it makes sense for Back to Black. It makes sense for The Apprentice. Blitz is here, which makes sense because the kids element of it. Kneecap is a weird one for casting because it's just all of the real people. That's also the case for Sing Sing.
But that just shows Kneecap, that's our core. Sing Sing, we don't like that. I know this isn't predictions, but Kneecap is getting the nomination here. It's so BAFTA casting core. That, A Complete Unknown, Conclave.
The Apprentice once again showing up. If it were to get into casting, then it would make sense that they love Jeremy Strong, they love Sebastian Stan.
And imagine the world where it gets into Best Film.
What would that do for the race? What would that change anything? I don't think so.
I would say that's our new number 10 if it does that.
If it gets into BAFTA, you would say The Apprentice is number 10?
If it gets BAFTA with all the things that you just mentioned and Stan goes on, and I would need to see Strong as well at SAG, yes.
That would be hilarious because it would shut everyone up who's decided that A Complete Unknown and Emilia Perez are the villains of the season, because suddenly The Apprentice would be there and all hate would be directed towards that.
I mean, I think it would replace A Complete Unknown. I think people would still stay with their Emilia Perez directed hate.
Okay, let's move to the next category, cinematography. What are we seeing here that's an interesting miss? I mean, for one thing, Nickel Boys. Nickel Boys. That's the big miss.
Like you said, the cinematography heavy groups are probably maybe not going to be receptive. But again, this could just be a BAFTA thing. BAFTA, outside of adapted screenplay, hasn't given it any love. I am starting to feel more inclined, as you had said before, of where BAFTA, BSC, ASC are probably all going to just shun the film and cinematography.
You know what else is missing? Maria.
It makes sense with the Angelina Jolie misses. They just didn't care about the movie.
Wicked is gone.
Wicked is gone, but you know what is here? Nosferatu shows up continuing its strength even when it has weaknesses.
Yes.
I mean, I guess we haven't really hit any categories where Nosferatu was a lock or should be. No. This is the first one, but Nosferatu's here. Emilia Perez is in here with Cinematography Longlist after basically not showing up anywhere throughout the season so far for Cinematography.
No, I mean, Emilia Perez was top 3 at Camera Image, which is why I've had it in my top 5, because every year 2 out of the top 3 at Camera Image from Poland always make it into Cinematography. So I've been riding with Emilia Perez and The Brutalist, but the winner of that award, The Girl with the Needle, not here.
It's not here, which is surprising because that seems like something the BAFTAs would be into. I guess just looking at some other things, A Complete Unknown shows some strength here in cinematography. When I first saw the film, that was a prospect I thought would be a lot stronger for the film than what it has seemed so far. So maybe this is the start of BAFTA ASC, but
listen,
we'll have to see.
Like, A Complete Unknown gets ASC. A Complete Unknown will snub either Nickel Boys or Nosferatu, or both, at ASC, and it'll make it into the top 5 based on that. I feel really strong about A Complete Unknown cinematography because it fits so perfectly with what the Oscars seem to really like to do in the cinematography category, which is just rewarding very solid, not flashy work. Stuff that just looks well lit, not doing anything unique, but it's just good enough.
I wouldn't say it's not flashy. I give you it's not unique, but I think it has some flashy elements to its camera work and movements and stuff. But I mean, it's one I would like to personally see happen. But looking at the other things here, Gladiator 2 makes it in, Substance, Civil War things. Civil War has been doing pretty good on these long lists popping up, but we saw the Oscar short list and only made it into one. So it's not even like, oh, this could be an Oscar thing because it only made a visual effects over there.
Well, this is going to be really interesting because Substance, this is the first tech category we're getting to. If we start to see the Substance everywhere for techs, I'm going to say it's undeniable that this does have the industry support that I've been skeptical of it having all of these months. So the Substance, this is a good first sign for it, but I want to keep seeing it showing up in these technical categories.
So let's move over to costume design, where it probably won't show up, but maybe. Beetlejuice Blitz gets a recognition here in costume design. A Complete Unknown, which I think could be a shocker for the Oscars. I've been a fan of this film since I saw it, and I rewatched it and I liked it even more. So any mentions for that I will be in support of. But costumes, I see Nosferatu here. Wicked is here, of course. Furiosa gets a mention.
No Maria.
Again, Maria blanking across the board.
No Brutalist as well, because I was wondering if maybe the Brutalist could slide into a 10.
It's got no Oppenheimer hat. There's not the drawing piece of costume design that like pops that you remember, like Emilia Perez has, the red suit.
This category is not really telling me a whole lot other than Maria is just keeping on performing worse and worse and worse.
Imagine if this year is the year where Netflix, because they said they don't really want to be awards contenders, so imagine like how we always say, like, oh, Netflix is great at acting and getting these other films nominations, just not picture. And this year it's just all Emilia Perez, and they don't care about any of their other movies, because that's at least what it's looking like here at BAFTA.
It could get every single one of these categories. This is one place where, I don't know exactly which direction I want to go, because I could totally see Blitz make it here, make it production design, but at the same time, I also kind of want to swap that out for, like, Nosferatu could easily fit into those. And I know you say that Nosferatu's, you think it's basically, like, locked for those categories. I'm skeptical after seeing it.
I wouldn't say it's locked, but I would have it very comfortably in. Like, it wouldn't be the first film I would take out from those categories. So now let's flip things over to Best Editing, where I guess looking at this, the first jump out is Kneecap shows up once again.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of getting in everywhere where it really could get in.
And the Substance is here, which is really good after missing the Critics' Choice. It's been missing all over the place.
Brutalist is not here.
Wow, Brutalist not there. Okay. Interesting. But we've got Nora, we've got Emilia Perez.
Dune shows up again.
Challengers is here. That's great for Challengers. And Civil War keeps showing up in editing.
My thing with Civil War is just like, I would have loved to see it do a little bit better at the Oscar shortlist. And like, to me, is that something that's going to translate over? And again, Civil War is succeeding in places where Brutalist and Sing Sing are underperforming. So like, it's just interesting how if A24 is running this campaign, or this is just the way people are receiving and reacting to these movies.
No Wicked.
That is interesting. That's probably Wicked's first major miss.
Well, I mean, cinematography we could call a miss for Wicked.
Yeah.
God, Gladiator 2 being in editing. The hell?
That makes somewhat sense to me for a long list. It's got flashy editing. You could say it's not good editing, but it's got flashy editing.
At this point, I don't know if I can predict The Brutalist for editing anymore. And I think Challengers might just be in.
For me, it's just like, yes, Tick Tick Boom is a recent example, but like outside of Tick Tick Boom, we don't have a great correlation for a film that makes editing without picture. And Tick Tick Boom was arguably number 11.
But you could go back a little bit further, and you've got 2017, where we had Baby Driver and I, Tonya both make it into editing without picture.
Baby Driver, I'll give you. I, Tonya definitely would have been in picture if it was a year of 10.
If it was a year of 10, I,
Driver
Tonya would have been in. But Baby Driver was completely outside of that.
So yeah, maybe it could happen. Wicked's been my number 5 for editing, but after missing here at BAFTA, barring some major, I guess, ace win, I think I might have to make the switch to Challengers.
Challengers is performing so well across the board in editing.
I scrolled up just a little bit to pull up makeup and hairstyling, and I see one nomination here that's not the nomination I would give for this movie, but I'm happy to see that at least show up once as Joker Folie à Deux. And just looking at the rest of this category, A Complete Unknown's here. How do you not put that on the Oscar shortlist? That's a great question. But Emilia Perez shows up once again. Wicked's here. The Apprentice is here. Substance, Nosferatu, Dune. All the big contenders are here. The only one that's really missing, I haven't been a believer of all season, is A Different Man.
Yeah. Wow. That's actually interesting because I just recently broke and put A Different Man into my top 5.
I'm not one to really consider A Different Man or Substance really like horror films, but people have been calling them horror-esque makeup. I know Different Man, that's a whole conversation upon itself. The transformation stuff there is just like, if one is going to miss out, that's just the weakest film of the bunch. And when we have Substance, which seems so strong in for the nomination, and Nosferatu is something I very much believe in.
I want to know what you think about this, because after seeing Nosferatu, I cannot see it getting into makeup because you can't fucking see the makeup almost ever. Like, I still could not really describe what Count Orlok actually looked like because he's so shrouded in darkness almost the entire time.
And I think that is what the film's benefit is it's showy in limited spaces, so you're not being overexposed to it. So when you do see it, it's such a feat at the very end of the film. And maybe that is its ultimate demise, to miss out for something that is showy throughout. But I mean, in a weird comparison, I guess it's the reverse of Emilia Perez, where the makeup showcases at the very beginning, and then the rest of the film is more hair. While Nosferatu, it's hair throughout, and the makeup showcases at the very end. Outside of A Different Man, I believe everything besides Waltzing with Brando and Maria, which again misses, is here. So we have 7 of the 10 overlap, with A Complete Unknown, Blitz, and Joker Folie à Deux being the non-overlap ones. So, I mean, I think that if someone wants to predict Emilia Perez, it could show its strength here.
One thing I'm torn about right now is I want to take Beetlejuice out of makeup and hair, but I also don't really quite know what to replace it with.
I think from what your skepticism was before, I think that one of Beetlejuice or Nosferatu makes it. They both don't. I mean, maybe we should have to play it like how we played Director last year, and you just play them both, and maybe you get both, maybe you get one, but you're probably not going to go over 2.
Yeah, you put all 3 in of the horror makeup movies with Beetlejuice, Nosferatu, and The Substance.
This one, hopefully you would get at least 2. I don't want to give up 2 guaranteed losses on there. But yeah, makeup category, very interesting here. Let's move to another Oscar shortlisted category, being Best Original Score. Challengers is not here.
No Challengers. Does that change anything? That's not great
to see. It backs up the Babylon comparisons. I know Babylon did make the BAFTA lineup and just lost, but I still think that, because the voting's already done for Golden Globes, and I believe it's nearly done for CCA, so I still think Challengers is going on to win those 2, but it may just be nominations at the Oscars, and then obviously nothing here at BAFTA.
I think it gets the nomination at the Oscars, and it could win. I would want to see it win multiple other awards. It's not going to change anything in terms of me predicting it for a nomination. This is helping The Wild Robot a huge amount. The Wild Robot did not need to be in original score at BAFTA, but it's here.
And I would say the other expected top of the bunches are here as well. Yep. Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez. Nosferatu even shows its head here in Best Original Score at the BAFTA, showing there's some extra love for that film. And then Substance, which is a score I'm shocked missed the Oscar long list, makes the BAFTA long list.
Blitz is also here, which I think is much more possible than people are giving it credit for, just on the back of Hans Zimmer. Now, I don't think Hans Zimmer is a name that could be name-checked, but it definitely helps that it's here because it could get into that BAFTA top 5. Now, interesting things that are missing: Room Next Door, Wicked.
Wicked, I'm still holding on to just because if the film is that strong, I think that's the type of nomination it just randomly gets. But as we've seen here at BAFTA, it doesn't seem that strong. Beetlejuice shows its head here as well. Again, don't understand how Beetlejuice is eligible and Dune isn't. They're both really reusing themes for the first while adding brand new ones. But Gladiator 2, for as much flack as I think people can give the movie, I think the score is pretty good. So I'm happy to see it at least continue to make long lists.
I disagree.
Come on.
I disagree.
Come on.
The score is just so bland. It just fades in the background. The best moments in the Gladiator 2 score are the ones that use the original themes and motifs.
I mean, I don't disagree there. I just like the rest of it as well. But I mean, I guess the winner of BAFTA could be our winner of the overall year. And it's just, will that be Brutalist? Will it be Conclave? Will it be Emilia Perez? Because I still think that has win buzz around it. Even though if the buzz isn't public, I feel like it's going to win something.
I would say BAFTA goes with Conclave. And then for the Oscar, it comes down to, is it Conclave or is it Challengers? And oh, God, I hope it's Challengers.
Me too, but this is a very hard miss to see. That's going to move us over to production design, and the first thing I see here is Blitz shows up once again. And the other thing I guess I'm seeing in a lot of these tech categories, which I think will affect your Best Picture rankings, is Substance is basically in at all of these.
That's what I'm thinking about a lot here. The Substance is doing what I was saying at Critics' Choice, is it needed to overperform. It needed to do far more than I expected it to. And The Substance is doing far more than I expected it to, and it's showing that it has the industry love that I've been skeptical of all year long. And so at this point, I have to put The Substance in my top 10. Real Pain, it's gone.
I don't think Substance is the number 10 slot anymore. I think that number 10 slot now falls to either Sing Sing or Nickel Boys, where for me, Sing Sing at least has acting. And I feel like that would give it the leg over Nickel Boys, but Nickel Boys could get into director if it shows up at DGA now.
It's kind of feeling to me right now like a split between The Whale and Women Talking in terms of 2022. When Women Talking, it was probably never lower than 8 or 9 because it was always getting in screenplay, it was always getting in picture. Whereas The Whale had that acting support, but it didn't end up getting into screenplay. And at this point, I feel the same way about Nickel Boys and Sing Sing. Although Nickel Boys is not winning adapted screenplay, although I guess there's a small argument for it because it has WGA when all of the other contenders don't. Even though Nickel Boys has less categories that it could be nominated in, it's stronger in those categories.
At the moment, I still have them both in. As I said, The Apprentice is something I would need to see do well at SAG, which we don't have SAG yet. And even if it does well at SAG, maybe that's still not enough to push itself for the final leg of the race. But production design, nothing major is really missing to me here. Everything that I'm expecting is here, and our win contenders are here. The Tim Burton stat. Beetlejuice is doing really well here at BAFTA.
Beetlejuice is doing really, really well at BAFTA. I don't expect it to get a ton of nominations, but it could get makeup, could get production design, could get costume design. Wouldn't be too shocked for any of those. And look, I mean, if it gets production design, maybe Hannah Cass is onto something. Oh shit! Emilia Perez is the one that's missing here.
That one I've never felt super strong in for production design, but for BAFTA, you feel like it would make the long list.
It's made every other tech category. And the other thing about it is it's undeniably impressive work for production design when you think about the fact that every single set was built on a soundstage in France, and yet people are saying that it looks so authentically Mexico that people are shocked when they learn that not a single second of that movie was shot in Mexico. It's all France. So that's something that I was clinging to, but very interesting that it misses here.
So that will move us over to Best Visual Effects, and all the monkey movies here of Wicked, Gladiator, Apes, Better Man, so that doesn't help us really knock any of those off. Romulus shows up once again. I guess Mufasa as a monkey movie is not here.
There's a couple that missed from the Oscar shortlist. Twisters and Mufasa are missing here in place of Furiosa and Beetlejuice.
What we'll see here at BAFTA is the deciding factor of the Battle of the Monkeys. I don't think we're getting all of them, so no. Mufasa seems to be the last leg. So which two? Because I don't think we're getting 3 of them.
Well, also, Better Man getting into BAFTA for this wouldn't affect my opinion of how it's going to perform at the Oscars, because it's a British movie. Although, wait, did it make it into Best British Film? It didn't. God damn, Better Man got screwed.
Better Man is not a better movie.
I disagree.
Even if it's
I
very
think
fun.
it's fantastic. Man, you love Elvis and you like Bohemian Rhapsody and you can't get on board Better Man? It's just those movies, but he's a monkey.
I don't know. I guess my thing there is I care about the other people, and this movie gave me no reason to care about Robbie Williams. But I really do like the music scenes. Like, Rock DJ is the best musical sequence of the entire year.
Oh, undeniably. But yeah, this isn't changing anything for me. I'm growing more and more confident in Deadpool and Wolverine as we go. Even though at first I was like, oh, but it's so unimpressive and it looks so gray. I've been seeing videos popping up on YouTube that are like how they did the hand reaching through the face visual effect. That visual effect alone might be enough to get this movie in.
Because the thing with the MCU is they can have so many movies come out a year. It doesn't matter. They get one in, and the fact that we only have one this year means it's in. Because, like, yeah, you can say the track record isn't great. They may have like sub 50% of getting their films in. But the thing is, you only had to get one in each year. And even though Black Panther missed, Wakanda Forever still got in.
All I want is Alien Romulus to get into visual effects and sound. That's all I want.
Well, let's move over to sound to see if it made the Bafta long list for sound, which it did not. You know that one right away because it would be at the top. But Blitz is here. Civil War is here after missing the Oscar.
The Brutalist also interesting that it's in sound, but missed editing. So the sound lineup here is very similar to the Oscar one, except Civil War makes it here, the Brutalist makes it here, the Substance makes it here. In terms of the overlap to the Oscars, we're missing Alien Romulus. We're missing The Wild Robot, we're missing Deadpool and Wolverine, and we're missing Joker Folie à Deux.
Oh yeah, so then what's the fourth? Oh, Conclave.
Oh, Conclave.
That didn't make the Oscar. What this shows to me is the films that did get in here are the films that are really strong across the board here at BAFTA Longlist. Substance got in pretty much everywhere. Conclave is in the win contention for Best Picture. Brutalist, you could say the same thing for too. Civil War is something that, shocking that it missed the Oscar shortlist, but it shows up here.
And Blitz does keep performing really well with these below the lines.
Again, these are both long lists, short lists, whatever you want to call them, for each body. Which nominations will it go on to? BAFTA, I don't have it blinking. Oscar, I do have it blinking.
I still think it's really strong for sound. I think it's really strong for production design. I probably sound like a crazy person clinging on to Blitz because I don't even like the movie. Like, we know how the Oscar does it. They show 10 minutes of it, and that's how they evaluate it. It's the 10 minutes that they choose. And undeniably, Blitz has one of the most impressive 10-minute sequences of sound this year. Plus, with production design, it's a branch favorite, Adam Stockhausen. There's just enough here where I'm like, I don't feel like it blanks at the Oscars. I think it gets 1 or 2, maybe even 3. Could get costumes.
It could get 3, and we will have updated Oscar predictions coming very shortly here to the channel. We're going to wait until the Golden Globes happen. That way we have fresh new information, so you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for that. In addition, we will be doing final BAFTA predictions ahead of their nominations on January 15th. But if you made this far in the video, thank you so much for tuning in. My name's Dyl.
My name's Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.